There we go. All right. So this is the course introduction. I'll talk about myself very, very briefly. My name is Dr. Seth Smart. I actually prefer Professor Smart, so you can call me either. If we're not talking about class-related things or you see me outside of class, please feel free to call me Seth. Uh, I actually prefer that probably over everything. But the dean told me I should have students call me by my title, so we'll go by that. I got my bachelor's in economics. Then I got my MBA right after that. Then I went and worked in industry for just a little bit. And I'd always wanted to be a professor, really, since I had a great professor in econ. I was like, I want to be a college professor. That'd be great. They're flexible and they can, like, you get to teach how you want, you get to do research. And I was like, that sounds awesome. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I went to my MBA and started working in industry. And then it confirmed all of that. And so now I work mostly in consulting roles and as a professor. And I went back to school and I got my PhD in management, specifically organizational behavior at the Spear School of Business, so down in Stillwater at Oklahoma State, which is also where I taught for the first time, was at Oklahoma State. If you don't know what organizational behavior is, I had a psychologist friend tell me that it's just psychologists that go to the dark side because they want to make money, so they go to business, because organizational behavior is the study of the psychology of employees within organizations. So like their behaviors, so like motivations and such. Specifically what I study and what I publish most of my research on is what's called counterproductive work behavior, which is bad things people do. So white collar crimes, sexual harassment, discrimination, all that kind of stuff. That is what my dissertation's on. That's what all my published research is on. If you ever look me up at Google Scholar, all the titles that pop up are terrifying because they're all just like me studying crime and sexual harassment and bad things. But I like to do it. It's great. So that's what I do. Professional-wise, I kind of talked about a little bit. I worked in industry, do consulting stuff, yada, yada. I was a coach for a while. I ran track in high school and college and stuff, so I coached that. Distance, obviously. Very, yeah, nothing contact, nothing cool. I just jogged for a long time. This is my wife, Jael, with the jet black hair. Jael, Jael. Her name's Jael Shamar Smart, which is quite the mouthful. She has 72 plants behind her. So we have a lot of house plants, and I hate all of them. Hate them all. But she loves them. They all have names, which is pretty fun. They have little labels on all of them. They're great. Half of them are dying, depending on the season, because most of them aren't native to Oklahoma. So there's my wife and I. I don't know how I, landed that. Because look at that guy on the right, and then her. This is my daughter, Macy. She just turned 12. She's holding a giant coconut that we found on an island in Florida. She likes cheerleading, and that's mostly it right now. Cheerleading and friends. She has a broken collarbone right now. I didn't get a picture up in time. She broke her collarbone at cheer, playing Red Rover. Not even cheerleading. This is my son, Evan. He is 8 years old. He loves hiking, fishing, and playing Minecraft. That's his jam. He's a cool looking dude. He also used to have a super long mullet down to his shoulders, and we cut it off at the end of the summer, and he cried for 2 hours. And now we're back to being cool, and his hair looks great. And this is my son, Blake. Blake turns 9 months old in 1 week. So I have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 9-month-old. It's a very busy household. Also, because of Blake, a lot of the plants are gone because he rips them off shelves and he rips them down. He's learning how to walk now. But he's got great blue eyes. My other 2 kids don't have blue eyes, and I have blue eyes, so I'm hoping that hangs around. Besides that, if you guys are interested in any of these things, feel free to talk to me. I like to play video games. I play a game called League of Legends, if you know what that is, and I play another game called Wuthering Wave, and then I play Minecraft with my son. Speaking of, my wife has over 1,000 hours in Minecraft, which is crazy. I play a lot of chess. I've played chess for a very long time. And yeah, I have 6 chessboards in my office. If you play chess, feel free to hit me up. I'm not great, but I love to play. I also like to watch football. I think it's because I never could have played it because I'm little and would die, but I like to watch it. I like to hike and fish, especially with my son. And I used to run forever. I used to run all the time. That's me at the Zombie Bolt. That's my best friend, Blake, that my son's named after. In this race, there was a group of zombies that were chasing runners, and then a group of runners that were running a 5K with flags on our waist. And if a zombie got your flag, you were dead and you lose. And that year, I won fastest human, but more importantly, my friend won best zombie. He killed the most people. So this cannot be recorded. I said it. It's fine. Now let's talk about the class and how to reach me. There was a study that showed if you tell students, hey, you can contact me if you have questions anytime. I told you right before class I wouldn't call you out individually. Sorry. You can contact me anytime. Studies show that students overwhelmingly won't take that offer until it's offered the 7th time. Now that's dumb and that's on you all. So please take the offer. If you ever have questions, you can email me at this, smart01. You can call or text me. I usually tell you if it's not urgent to email me, and my belief is nothing in this class is going to be that urgent, right? Like, you'd be all right. But if it is important, you can call or text me. You don't have to apologize. I hate when people call me and they say, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm giving you my number, and this is literally my job, so please, it's fine. My office is in Broken Arrow. It's directly downstairs. I don't even know my office room number. I think it's 119, but it's on the wall. And I have office hours from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. via Zoom. I'm going to be honest with everybody here. The only reason I have scheduled office hours is because they require it. I am available anytime. Just call me, email me, text me. My rule is if I can't respond to you, I won't. My phone will be up. I won't be on email, so don't feel bad. If you send me an email at 3 a.m., don't apologize for emailing me so late. Because if I can't answer it, I won't. So it's okay. You can email me anytime. I'm also aware that a lot of my students, especially my MBA students in this class, are full-time working adults. So that means they're working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you're taking a night class on Mondays, it's probably because you're in a similar boat. So I'm very aware that I do a lot of my work on the weekends, and that's okay. I've got my life scheduled that way. I answer emails on Sundays because all our assignments are due Sunday night. So again, I think this is the 4th time I'm saying it. So we've got 3 more to go. You can email me, call, or text anytime. It's okay. I think I got scarred because when I was at Oklahoma State, a lot of the students were like scared of their professors, so they wouldn't ask questions. I am the least scary person I agree with that. Right? It's scary. Yeah, my advisor was a 6'2" redheaded woman who was terrifying. And none of her students would ask her questions. Genius lady. But man, this is our textbook, Developing Management Skills. This is all the information right here. I don't work with the bookstore here. I'm not 100% sure how they carry it there, but I know you can find it on Amazon. I've had students use the 9th edition, and all I can ever say when they say I want to use the 9th edition or the 8th edition is we're using the 10th edition for class. But you can do what you want. And none of them seem to have had problems, so it's probably fine. When we use the textbook, we do homeworks once we get into the content. The homework is based primarily off my lectures, but some off of the textbook, because a lot of I would say about 50% of my lecture aligns directly with content in the textbook, and 50% is research, news, my own information, right, on top of it, because you're not paying me to just read the textbook to you, because you can all do that. But some of our like case studies and stuff get pulled from the textbook because case studies are expensive. And so when you buy textbooks, they put them in the textbook. So some of the case studies I use are from the textbook. If I ever use a case study that's not in the textbook, it's because I wrote it myself or it's a free one. So you don't have to do any of that stuff. It also has a lot of our assessments. For everybody listening right now, unless you're an MBA student, this is the standard grade scale. It goes out of 1,000 points. If you're in the MBA section, it actually goes to 1,100 points because they don't listen to the 1,150. I adjusted it like 2 days ago. It's now 1,100 points if you're in the MBA. To the syllabus. Are we good so far? I'm not going too fast. I think it's mostly about me. And yeah, so now we're out of me. I won't talk about myself ever again. That was it. I'd like to get the syllabus pulled up here. Anybody play chess? I've always wanted to play a student for extra credit in chess, but I don't know the ethics behind that, so I've held off.
I'm not smart enough for that.
There's no correlation between IQ and chess performance, which is interesting. Thank God, because it would be hard for me. But I've played it a long time. It's mostly pattern recognition, supposedly. All right, this is the syllabus. You all should have access to this. Let me make sure here that I'm checking all the stuff I'm supposed to be checking off. Boom, boom, good. This is all the information I gave you in the slides beforehand, yada, yada. This is how I'm delivering the course. It's high flex. You can be here. or not be here. Let's get to the first important thing, which is late assignments. Late work policy, it's my policy. I accept late work by a rate of 10% points lost per day after the due date. After 10 days, the assignment's no longer accepted. Full disclosure, I have to have a firm stance put in my syllabus. My rule is, we're all humans. My number one goal is to make sure everybody learns the stuff. I just want to make sure everybody learns the things in the course, however we need to. I have to have certain standards about due dates and stuff, but if you contact me on Saturday and you say I have vicious strep throat and my kids are sick and I know the assignments are due Sunday, can I get an extension? Usually it's yes. Almost always I will give an extension if you contact me in advance, right? Even if it's like a day or 2 days. And if you ask any of my previous students, most of them will tell you I will give exceptional late extensions. If they contact me and they say I'm very, very sick, can I have an extension till Monday? I'll say turn it in Wednesday, take the extra day. You hopefully will all work for companies that have similar flexibilities. And so far, no students burned me on this policy. But that is my general our policy. So if you don't contact me at all before the fact, that's what'll happen when you turn it in. But reach out, communication. I used to meet with a guy once a week, and he would come over and we would watch One Piece every week. One Piece, the anime. And we would move. Oh, we'd move One Piece. I thought you said watch One Piece like the anime. Move One Piece? Oh, I don't have the patience for that. I would go nuts. I play Bullet and Blitz in my older age. When I was younger, I would play the long, hour-long games. Can't do it anymore. I got less patience as I got older. Talking about chess, by the way. Boom. Grade scale. Let's go to the course schedule. You have a hard course schedule here in the syllabus. It's got every week planned out all the way through. If you got on Blackboard, I had like 3 of you email me because it said you were failing my class. That's because the class was ported over from spring, including it's actually a shell, but it ports everything over, including the due dates. So when it does that, everybody all of a sudden is past due on every assignment. I've updated it now, but the final due dates are not in there. These are the due dates, okay? The week of 8/25 is the Monday, which is, next Monday. And then the due date of all the assignments that week are the Sunday. So we have class on Monday, all the assignments, everything, and then everything's due Sunday at 11:59. So you have the full week to get it done. I will open up all of your content on Sunday. So right before everything's due, I open up the next week content. So if you want to work ahead, you can do it week by week. But everything's due Sunday at 11:59. It'll always be due Sunday at 11:59. That's what I do all semester. But follow this schedule, boom, all the way through. It stays pretty consistent. I will point out one thing, and I'll say this again next week. We have Labor Day in 2 weeks on Monday, so we will not have class. However, I also teach this class on Thursdays. And then later in the semester, we have fall break on Thursday, but you all have class. So to make sure everything stays balanced, and I teach the same thing every week, you all will just have a lecture video posted on Labor Day weekend or Labor Day week. It's going to be 20 minutes because all I'm doing is explaining the final project. Okay, so we won't have class Monday. There'll be a video posted that week that's going to be 20 minutes long about the final project because that's what I'll teach my Thursday class. And then you all will read that or watch that and we'll all be caught up. I'll say that again next week. So every week's pretty standard. We come in, class will typically run where I will talk about something relevant in the news for 5 minutes, something that's happened recently, usually always business related. Then I will lecture usually for 45 minutes to an hour. Then we will talk about that week's assignments. You usually have time to do that week's assignments, and then we'll talk about the assignments. The only thing I don't give time for in class is homework because you can do that on your own, like the homework quizzes that we do. But besides that, for attendance, I do lecture questions every single week. The only exception is this week. This week I don't do a lecture question because I'll have 10 students leave by the end of this week and I'll have 10 students add by the end of the week. So I just wait. The lecture question is not hard. If you're here, you're guaranteed to get it right. It'll just be something real basic. It's always opinion-based, but that's how you get your credit for watching the lecture or for being here in person or online. So at some point during the lecture, I'll usually flash a big slide up here that says this week's lecture question, and I'll give it to you all, and you all can put it in Blackboard. if you're online or in person, or if you watch the lecture later, and then you get credit. That'll be every single week. Are we good on that? Lecture question, makes sense, cool. I don't know how the professors do attendance, but I think it's boring to just take attendance. And that wouldn't work with the online format and everything, so. Cool, so this is all the schedule. I'm not gonna go through week by week. I don't know if professors do that, but that sounds terrible. The last thing I'm going to point your, this is the point breakdown. If you want to see how we get all our points. Lecture questions, there's 15 of them for 10 points. We do 4 assessments for 20 points. There's a syllabus acknowledgement that I'll talk about in just a bit. We do 5 case studies. There is a final business project that's right here that I'm not talking about today. And then we have 12 homeworks that are worth 30 points, and I dropped the 2 lowest ones. Boom, 1,000 points. Statement regarding AI. I have to have this, so I'm going to toot my horn here for a second. When I was at Oklahoma State teaching, I asked my students, have any of you used ChatGPT? And none of them raised their hand. And then I said, have any of you heard of ChatGPT? And 2 of them raised their hand. And at the time, this is just like 6, 7 years ago. At the time, I was using AI pretty heavily. Like I loved the introduction of AI, and I started using it. So that blew my mind. Nowadays, different world. We can all agree, right? So quick in 5 years. AI has learned how to do hands so well. No more like 4 and 3 finger stuff. AI is way different than it was 5, 6 years ago. So every class probably has an AI statement now. I've had one for a few years. And my policy for AI, I think, is generally simple. There's actually not a lot of opportunities in this class to use AI to like cheat. The only way you could use it really is for the final business project. I think AI is probably here to stay. Most of the organizations you all will go on to work for are going to integrate AI in some way. So I'm not like shy or scared away from AI. So I basically have 2 simple rules about it. Please follow them because I can't reveal my methods, but I can say if you use AI in an unethical way, it'll probably get caught. I don't know what all professors do. All of your stuff gets run through. I have 9 different programs that run it, including one made by Google that check for it, right? And I basically use that to determine if someone's used AI, in addition to if I thought it was used for AI in the first place. I've only caught like 2 students using it that shouldn't have been. So don't use it unethically, but here are my 2 rules. 1, do not use generative AI to write for you, okay? So like, don't say, I need this, can you write me a paper on this? Or can you write an ethics section about this company? Or put a homework question in that requires a paragraph answer and say, answer this. Okay, that's using generative AI to just do the work for you. If you want to write it yourself and use it to clean up your writing, or if you want to ask it to give you examples, or you want to ask it to give you ideas about something when you all are coming up with companies for the project, if you want it to give you names or whatever, that's all fine. So my rule number 1 is don't let it do the work for you, okay? And then rule number 2, which is what I think makes this all so simple. If you use AI in any capacity, please, in your assignment, just put at the bottom what you used and how you used it. Even like 1 sentence, like, oh, I used Grammarly to fix my spelling. Great. I used ChatGPT to clean up the paragraph that I wrote. Great. And my rule to you is, if you do that and you used AI in a way that I disagree with or that actually did cross the line, you're not in trouble because you disclosed it to me. So I'll just tell you, oh, hey, we're all trying to figure this out. The world is changing, right? And so you used it to write this paragraph for you in a way that's not acceptable, but you told me about it. No big deal. Just let's fix it or whatever. It won't be any real burden on you. And no points off, no nothing. That seems to have fixed most of my problems is by telling students, hey, if you use AI, if you use ChatGPT, just disclose it at the bottom. And 99% of the time, I read your AI statement and I go, great, and I move on because it's not doing anything wrong. Maybe that'll change in the future, but for right now, that seems to have worked well for me. So, and I think it's good for you all too. So, because if you use it and you disclose it, you'll never get points off or anything. It also gives me a cop out because if you use it and get caught, you didn't write anything there, I can be like, but you didn't tell me. So, not you specifically, Jet, but I feel like I can point at you,
I would be the one to use it.
Would you? Okay, AI tech or Apple tech, I figured, potentially. So that's my statement on AI, not to be scary or anything. And I understand there's a lot of like ethical stances on AI, good and bad. Everybody's welcome to have their own opinions. I have my own. It's become more prevalent in research, which is like good and bad. But I will say my dissertation would have been a lot easier if AI was where it is now. Because man, it's really good for data analytics. You pay for like a really high profile model. Like I pay for a pretty expensive model to do my data analytics for me or to help with it. It's pretty great. Cool. All right. That's the syllabus. I'm going to show you Blackboard real quick. Oh, we are cooking right now. We're doing great. Is it hot here?
Yeah.
It is hot?
Cold.
You're cold?
It's
cold,
not. I
hot?
said it's not cold.
I'm sweating.
This weekend for orientation, I'm not kidding you, it was like 60 degrees in this building.
Oh,
We were like shivering.
Bro.
where's my... What? I think I got my stuff passed to the screen. I love the cold. Love it. My wife hates it. And so our house is always hot, obviously. Because I lose. So, there we go. All right. This is our course. It doesn't look like this for you all. It looks like this. I'm going to explain Blackboard really quick for people. I put all of my announcements. Every week I make an announcement. I put it up here in the announcements tab, so you can click there and all that stuff's there. We'll talk about Discord in a bit. I also put it in Discord. I have a Discord server for this class, if you know what that is. But the way it works is every week there will be one of these modules. This week there's two because I do an intro and then our actual lecture material. I do a learning module, and in the module it'll pretty much look like this. It'll always have a video and slides tab in there. You will see the slides. That's where I'll post the video. And then I have all the assignments. I keep it as simple as possible. So every week you click the learning module, you click videos and slides, you have all the material that we're going over that week, and then you click assignments, and that's everything due that week. So whatever's due. Even if an assignment's got a 2-week out, like due date, I'll post it twice. So it'll be in the learning. So, I'm sorry?
Yeah. Send that to.
So keeps it really simple, and then I have extra materials if there's anything extra I need for that week. But I think that works out pretty well. Learning module, click, boom, boom, boom. So that's pretty much Blackboard. And now I'm going to talk about Discord, and then we're going to go on to our introduction to assessments and case study. This week, I am not starting this, but you will be soon. But you may have noticed in the course schedule that there is something called Discord Study, part 1 of 2. And then at the bottom, there should be Discord Study, part 2 of 2. That is a bonus assignment. Basically, I was setting up, I use Discord, and I have for a while. And if you don't know what Discord is, that's okay. It's like, do you know what Discord is? 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 Oh my gosh, great, good. Discord, mainstream, good job. I've used Discord for a while. I noticed a while ago that my students that used my Discord server had like my highest scores and were like the most engaged. So I post everything in Blackboard. You do not have to be on Discord. Double hear that, everybody. You do not have to be on Discord. Everything I post on Blackboard, I also post on a Discord server. That's just for your guys' class. If I'm working, I'm on Discord. If I'm playing video games, my Discord's up. And I tell students, if you ever see me on Discord, you can always click and talk to me or ask me questions or whatever. My students that are on Discord message me often. And it's easy. And it's easy for me and it's easy for them. So I was sitting at home about a month ago and I thought, man, I wonder what other professors are using Discord. And I found out, like, not many, if any, right? So I'm a researcher and I like weird ideas. So I started writing a study about why Discord drives student engagement and it's better. And I'm waiting for what's called IRB approval, which means my approval to have human subjects, which is you all. They told me they're drafting my acceptance letter today, so it should be done. So I can't give you the study yet. But if you want to get extra credit, it's 10 points extra credit. There's a little survey you'll do. It's like, it'll take you 3 minutes. the survey about how much you know about Discord and stuff. And then you can join the Discord, and at the end of the semester, you'll get a post survey that's like, what did you think about Discord? Right? And if you do those 2 surveys, you get 10 points extra credit. Yay! And then I get to publish data later. But if you don't want to do the study, you can still join the Discord server. I will send it out on the announcements tab, so everybody can join the Discord. And yeah, and if you have any questions about it, I'll let me know. But my picture's a little penguin on there because my wife is a female penguin on there, and I'm not changing my profile picture. And it says Professor Smart, but if you click my name, I think it says Still Runner because that's been my username since I was like 15, and I'm not changing that either. So how professional is that? So that's the Discord talk. I will talk about it again next week because I will have IRB approval, and next week is when I'll actually send out the survey if you want to take it. But I will post the Discord link soon. I'll have to edit my profile to be more appropriate to join for the study. No one will see your profile but me, and I don't click individual student profiles because I know that. Because most people that like play video games and stuff, they just use that for Discord. And yeah, so I'm going to be honest, I don't care. So nobody at the university is going to see it but me, and I don't care what's in your profile. I'm not going to click and see it. You'll just have to tell me your name every time you try to talk to me because everybody's usernames on there are wild. So they're always like, Princess Saver 67. And I'm like, who's this? I'm like, it's John. And I'm like, hey, John. So it's whatever it is. All right. Let's actually get to the lecture. I'm going to get a drink of water here. I'm a compulsive water drinker, so I have this massive pack down. Oh, 2 people in the waiting room. Sorry, bros. It's the same person twice. Dude, I am listening up here like a pig right now. It is hot. What's crazy about the fall semester is by the end of the semester, it'll be freezing outside. Every time wise, crushing it, right? I was going for like an hour to an hour and a half. I think I'm gonna kill that. Cool. So in this course, there are 5 case studies and 4 assessments, as you saw. We're going to talk a little bit about case studies and assessments. I'll show you a couple of test assessments, case studies, so you kind of have an understanding of what we're doing. But primarily for this class, your points are going to come from the lecture question every week, assessments, case studies, and homework. And then we have a final project. But the homework's really basic. It's not timed. You get 1 shot at it, but you can open it up on a Monday, work on it all week, turn it in by Sundays. No stress, no mess. Everybody scores well on the homework. That the questions come directly from the lecture. But we'll start with case studies. So what are case studies? Specifically, they're defined as real-world accounts of specific challenges faced by organizations typically presented in a written short to long format. Now, in academia, as somebody that's worked in industry and academia, I can tell you there's a constant contention between the two, which is the idea of what you learn in college doesn't directly apply to like real world skills, right? However, a lot of positions require that you have certain college degrees, and there's certain things that we teach you here that you have to have in order to go work these jobs. I can tell you that the research shows that there's more of a blend between the two than a lot of people think. Basically, if someone has 4 years of real work experience and someone else has 2 years of college plus 2 years of work experience, the college plus work experience actually performs better, which is why we know that it's the marrying of the two that's actually the most successful. So if you go to college for 4 years, you're also not going to beat the guy that has 4 years of experience, right? So it's the marriage of the two that are good. Case studies are one of the ways that we attempt to make academia closer to the real world. That's why people like to do things like have projects that work directly with real world companies, or have assignments and group work that tries to simulate a work environment more. You all may have taken classes that use simulations before, and those are all just attempts to make college closer to an actual work environment. But what case studies are, they are studies of actual things that have happened at companies and in the real world. They usually write them, usually they're a long format, like 20, 30 pages. And it'll be, this is what happened at a company. Everything went bad. Nothing ever goes good. It's always bad. Everything went bad. And this is what they did, and that wasn't good. So what would you do to make it better, right? And you look at those case studies and you take what we learn in class and you try to basically solve them. Well, if you ever get your MBA, they do a ton of case studies. I was on the case study team during my MBA, and one of the last things they had to do for our MBA was Boeing, the company, came in, and the president of one of their manufacturing in Oklahoma City, their problem was they were taking on a massive contract, and the contract would require them to basically need several hundred more employees at Oklahoma City. And they didn't know where they were going to be getting these employees, like how they were going to transfer them in, how are they going to onboard them, can they get this contract done in time? And so they took all these big university MBA teams, they wrote this up as a case study, we all had to read it, and then present to Boeing's board, basically, what they should do to fix it, right? And that was the way of bridging college with actual work, right? Like you had to take an actual problem, try to solve it, and tell Boeing. You guys won't have to do anything that extreme, don't worry. But we do 5 case studies in this class, looking at real world events. I don't know if I've written any of you all's case studies that you'll do. Maybe. I got to recall all 5. So they serve as a valuable learning tool for understanding business practices, decision-making processes, and outcomes. They allow students to see and solve real problems that are faced within an organization. My wife says I look like a toddler when I drink out of this thing. I don't care. So here's like a mini quick example. Look at Starbucks. Coffee drinkers? Coffee drinkers? No.
Not Starbucks, but yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Starbucks.
yeah,
How do you
a
live?
liter of coffee a day.
You say Red Bull? I thought you said Red Bull at first, and that was like a pretty cool answer. But Red Bull. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Or like Dutch Bros.
Dutch Bros? That's still coffee, right?
No, you can get other things other than coffee.
It's like my daughter.
It's flavored milk.
Flavored milk.
No, the
Okay, bash it on
energy
your.
drink at Dutch Bros is actually called a Red Bull.
Okay. This guy's at Celsius.
Ew.
Ew.
I don't
We need
like
a nicer learning environment here, team.
Sorry.
Flavored milk? Ew, what is this? I used to drink a pot and a half of coffee a day during my MBA. Then I broke my jaw, basically. I dislocated my jaw from grinding, and then I was working out one day. That's why you guys can probably tell I have like a slight lisp. It's because I have to have like a splint when I talk a bunch to protect my jaw now. And so then I cut all coffee out. So now I drink decaf coffee every day like a loser. I drink 2 pots of coffee a day at least. See, that beats me. I was a pot and a half a day. But we'll talk about Starbucks. My wife drinks a lot of Starbucks. She earns it. She works like a real job, not like me up here. She's like out there working in IT, doing cool stuff. She works in software. So she deserves her Starbucks. But Starbucks was founded in 1971. This is like a case study style. 1971 in Seattle, Washington, rapidly grew to become one of the most recognizable coffee house chains globally. By the early 2000s, Starbucks faced significant challenges, including market saturation, declining same-store sales, and customer dissatisfaction. There was a time when Starbucks was at the point where you would be like at a Starbucks, and then across the street, there was like another Starbucks. And then you would go down the road like 5 blocks, and there was another Starbucks. And they had massively saturated the market, and they were basically cannibalizing themselves. They were increasing overhead while not increasing sales because they had taken all the sales in the area already. Challenged by 2008, Starbucks was struggling with declining foot traffic and profits. The company's rapid expansion had led to a dilution of the brand experience. Additionally, the global financial crisis exacerbated the decline in consumer spending, affecting Starbucks' premium pricing model. So if you were reading a case study, they would basically tell you these 2 things in 10 pages plus, but with more detail, right? They would be like, this is what's going on. Background of the company, what's going on with them right now. Then they'll usually ask you, what would you do? Like, how do you solve this problem? And then in the case study, you're writing out what you would do. And then we come together and I tell you what Starbucks did or what Starbucks should have done, including or according to the experts after the fact. What Starbucks actually did in this case is their CEO returned in 2008. If you've ever wondered if CEOs matters, the answer is sometimes. But I used to give a lecture on do CEOs matter? And one of the examples we use is Starbucks, because in some companies, the CEO comes and goes and the company stays stable. Starbucks, Howard was the CEO there. They were doing this. Howard left. They did this. Howard came back in 2008. They did this. And it was basically, he just knew how to run Starbucks.
Did he go to a Coldplay concert in the middle of it?
What company did that guy work for? Arrow?
Something like that.
Something like that? Yeah, too bad it wasn't like a really known company. It was still a very successful company, just one that's like not selling to average consumers. I don't even know what he does now. He doesn't work. He's not at Starbucks anymore. So when he came back in 2008, the first thing he did was he announced the closure of 600 underperforming stores, and he laid off a significant number of employees. He basically said, we're killing ourselves. We've taken up too much of the market. We're getting rid of all these stores, closing them all. So even though this is kind of like a positive story that Starbucks turned it around, a lot of people lost their jobs. They refocused on core values. So they renewed its focus on like what they did to become what they are in the first place. And then they implemented several cost-saving measures, such as optimizing their supply chain operations and streamlining the menu. They actually reduced the menu from what it was. It was really wild. Eventually, there'll be another case study about how Starbucks basically destroyed the pandemic and did so well. And that is because, if you don't know, Starbucks makes the inside of the restaurant smaller and smaller and smaller, and they try to make them less customer-friendly on purpose. I'm not bashing Starbucks. They do it because the majority of their sales come mobile and through the drive-thru. People walk in and get their coffee or go through the drive-thru. And Starbucks has learned the way we're going to dominate the market is by shifting to that. We're going to be fast. People are going to come in and out quick and be done. That's what they do. My wife doesn't like people, so every time, she's a lovely lady. Let me change that. She's a lovely lady. But she doesn't like big crowds and stuff, neither do I. So all of our Starbucks orders are through that dang drive-thru, through the phone, and they always mispronounce her name. Do you remember my wife's name?
Jael.
Wow. Bonus points. Just kidding. Don't take that to the bank. That is impressive. It's Hebrew for mountain goat.
I listen to customers every day with some wild names, so I've gotten pretty good at names.
Dude, that's good. I always thought Seth Smart was cool, but it was easy to remember, you know? And easy to say. But Jael Shamar is a lot. So that's a mini case study. If you want to see some case studies that we'll be doing, this is a test case study. In the extra materials for this module, we're not doing anything with these besides you all can see them. So don't worry about completing them, filling them out, or whatever. But I have one test case study there. It's on counterproductive work behaviors, which is my background. At TechWave Solutions, which is a fictional company based on a real company. This is the layout of a typical case study. We talk about the background of the company, then we get a detailed on the conflict that what the company's going through, then what management did, and the outcomes of that, and then ask several questions about it. So most of your case studies will look like this. You don't have any massive case studies in this class. If you get your MBA, some MBA classes will be case study heavy, and you'll get the big, bad, annoying ones. Usually they're just filled with lots of charts and data, but this isn't an accounting or finance class because accounting's terrible. Just kidding, accounting major. I wanted to get my CPA, remember?
Yeah.
But we don't have to dive into the numbers as much here. We're focused more on the management skills and leadership style of things. So that's case studies. Maybe boring for some. Let's go on to assessments, a little bit less boring. Not most, but I amend that. All of you have taken an assessment before, like almost for sure. If you get on Facebook and it's like, take this survey and see what Power Ranger you are, or whatever. That's basically an assessment. That's like what it's doing. They're just assessments. 90%, I'm just throwing this number out. This isn't a real number, but 90% plus of assessments you take are usually complete BS. They're not real. They're not grounded in anything. There's no data behind them. Um, it's not that way. But assessments are a tool that we use, especially at organizations, to get a quick snapshot or temperature of our employees to try to learn something about them. They're typically cost saving and quick. So if I'm at a company and I'm worried about employee satisfaction, right, it's much easier to send out a massive satisfaction questionnaire to everybody that's essentially an assessment of your work satisfaction and get those results back than to have one-on-one interviews with every single employee when it comes to like time. Now, the one-on-one interviews will pretty much always be better, right? As far as data I'm getting, but they're time consuming. They're, it's expensive ultimately. So we develop assessments. Another way we use assessments are in like the hiring process. When you all have applied to organizations, they may have you fill out things that are like personality assessments, right? If you've ever heard of like the Myers-Briggs or the MBTI stuff like, or yeah, MBTI or the Big Five, stuff like that. They'll do personality assessments on you. And that's a way to kind of like vet basically applicants that are coming in. So we use assessments for all sorts of things. They essentially give us a quick snapshot of everybody. They almost always exist the same way, where they're going to ask you a question. They're going to use what's called a Likert scale, which is like a 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 7 scale. You should always use an odd number scale. If anything uses an even scale, it's not 2, it's bad. You don't need to know why. Statistically, it's bad. So 1 to 3, 1 to 5, 1 to 7 is the most common. Or they can do like 1 to 10 sometimes. But and there'll be something like strongly disagree to strongly agree. And they'll ask you questions. Good assessments, sometimes you don't even know what they're measuring. Other times you do know what they're measuring. So here's an example. My wife, when she was applying to a job one time, had a survey that she had to fill out during the application process, and it said, how many times have you sped in the last month? And then it asked, have you ever been late to work, right? Or have you ever told a lie to get out of a bad situation? Questions like that. And she gave that to me because I was in school at the time for my PhD, and I was like, she's like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know. So I gave it to the 6'2", redheaded, scary woman, my advisor. And I said, what is this? And she was like, this is a famous honesty test. They give it to people. People's natural reaction when you get that, when you're applying for a job, is to say, I've never been late to work. I would never lie, right? I don't speed. Okay, that's the natural reaction because you want to look good. They actually don't care what you put for that. Like, they don't care if you speed or don't speed, anything like that. What they're measuring is your honesty, because we have data that shows X amount of people speed, X amount of people have lied, right? X amount of people have done this, this, and this. And if you land, usually we consider it within 2 standard deviations, so basically 5% outside that realm, most likely you're lying. Unless you're just like a perfect angel, right? And so they can play the odds game and say the odds that you're that 1 out of 100 are probably pretty slim, so you're most likely lying. But they can use that in addition to everything else to make the decision on whether to hire or not. So that's one type of assessment. So good assessments often you don't know. If you ever do, when you do my dissertation, my Discord study, there's some assessments in there, and they're measuring things that you probably don't know what they're measuring. They're just like, they'll seem like arbitrary questions, but they're getting at weird stuff. This is an assessment that I use every semester. This is called the Counterproductive Work Behavior Assessment. It's used to measure an employee's negative behaviors at organizations. It's the most famous one. It was made in 1995 by Robinson and Bennett. And it asks questions like, how often do you make fun of somebody at work? Made an ethnic or religious or relational remark at work, cursed at someone at work, played a mean prank. Those are called interpersonal counterproductive work behaviors, so things done between people. Then we have organizational behaviors, which are things you do against a company. And that's things such as, how often have you taken property from work without permission, spent too much time fantasizing or daydreaming? I can give this to an organization. I almost tripped and died. I can give this to an organization with the organization's permission that I don't have to share individual employee results, and I have to be able to tell the employee, no one will see your direct answers but me. Or I have ways to strip their information. I can have them take it independent. I can have 100 people take it independently. It'll strip all your information and jumble it up, so I don't know who did what, right? I do that. Employees are overwhelmingly honest about themselves if you give them anonymity. And then I can look and I can tell you, yeah, the reason you're losing money and you don't know where it's at is because most of your employees are stealing from you, right? Like they're reporting theft. And you've got a really, really high CWE or CWBO number, meaning you've got lots of people hurting the organization. And I can do that, and then they can try to figure out how to fix it, right? So that's an assessment that I give to employees. Again, employees are, can we take this assessment? The CWBI and CWBO? Yeah, you can take it. I can, if you want me to analyze your results and you don't mind if I know who you are, you can just take it and give it to me, and I can tell you. If you want to play a fun game, you can give it to your coworkers and then give me all their answers, and I can tell you a lot about your company real quick for free, because that's fun for me.
You gave me like PTSD.
Did I? I'm sorry. I was being honest. I forgot I did the slide later. I meant to put it before, but I just kind of talk off the cuff a lot. Sorry. PTSD about your last job?
No, my current job.
Oh.
I do a quarterly pulse assessment. That's 75 questions about my management anonymously.
Yeah. Before I get into this, I'll tell you one quick thing about assessments that drives me nuts. I can't tell you the company because I've got to work and talk to a lot of different companies, but it's a friend that works at a company. And to do assessments correctly, they have to be research published assessments first off. So there's like a process to that. Like the CWB study or assessment I just showed you, Robinson and Bennett wrote it, and it's a long process to develop it. And once you develop it, it has to go to a journal with 3 blind reviewers that review it and approve it, and then it's published. And now you have hard data behind it to say that this assessment actually works. It's measuring what it says it's measuring. Then you have to administer it correctly. And if you want to see if we're measuring CWB and I want to see if CWB is getting better, and I measure all my employees and then I measure them again a year later, you have to use the exact same assessment to make it work. So this happened at a large billion-dollar company, but I'm not going to say the company. They were having a problem with employees' satisfaction at the company. And so the C-suite launched an initiative to improve employee satisfaction. So the way you do that is the first thing you do is you have to measure employee satisfaction. You got to get a temperature of the room. So we give everybody in the company an assessment that basically said the questions such as, how happy are you with the organization? Do you feel the organization meets your needs, right? Do you feel like you're being accurately compensated for the work that you're putting in, right? Satisfaction measure. People said, yeah, it's bad. So they scored really, really poorly. Then they did a bunch of whatever they did, trainings, we're all in this together, that kind of stuff. And 6 months later, my friend got an assessment back that they had to fill out for employee satisfaction. And she immediately contacted me and said, this is the assessment I did before. Will you look at this assessment? And I looked at it. And what the assessment was asking was, do you like your coworkers? Do you feel that the people you work with are there for you? Stuff like that. That is measuring something different. That is measuring your satisfaction with your coworkers. A lot of people work shitty jobs, pardon my French, 3 children at home, I don't get to cuss anywhere else, work these terrible jobs, but they like the people they work with, like your coworkers, the ones that are in the trenches with you. So this company essentially measured employee satisfaction. Then they measured employee satisfaction with their coworkers, and the results were bad over here. And then people were like, well, yeah, I like my coworkers. And then the company reported to the C-suite, hey, look, employee satisfaction got so much better this year. And C-suite said, awesome. And the company kept doing what it's doing. And that happened last year, large company. And they knew what they were doing. They've got people on payroll way smarter than me that administer those assessments. So they knew that those little manipulations and stuff will tweak results. And yeah, so when they told me that, they were like, do you think it's a mistake? And I was like, hell no. This is every PhD across the world, they teach you this early on. So they knew. But it's hard to catch as an employee because you're answering like 100 questions. So, not all assessments are good. The good ones take a lot of work. Not all assessments are reliable, which is how consistent the results are. Not all assessments are valid, which is do they measure what they say they measure. So reliability would be like if I'm measuring personality trait, how outgoing you are. Are you extroverted? That's a good one. If I'm measuring extroversion, that should be stable. Most people are extroverted or not, right? If I measure extroversion, I measure you on a Monday and you score high in extroversion, and I measure you the following Monday and you score low in extroversion, that would be an unreliable test. It should remain stable. Validity is it measuring what it actually says it's measuring? So saying, do you like your coworkers? Do you feel that your coworkers are there for you? Is not measuring employee satisfaction. It may accurately measure employee satisfaction with coworkers. It's very, reliable in that it's consistent. You like your coworkers, but it's not valid. It's not measuring what it wants to measure. Which brings us to the MBTI. People online or people in person. Do you all know what the MBTI is? Myers-Briggs. 16 personality traits or personality categories. All right, I'm going to talk smack on the MBTI. Rarely do students challenge me on this and think like I'm wrong. If you think I'm wrong, you can look it up, and I respect you. You should do that. The MBTI is probably the most famous assessment ever written, like hands down. So the MBTI or the Myers-Briggs is used by over 85% of Fortune 500 companies. So if you work for one of those companies, it's very likely to have to take it. It breaks people down into 16 personality categories. You can take it online if you want, for free. It breaks you down into 16 personality categories. It'll define you based on whether you're a thinker or a feeler, whether you're extroverted or introverted, that kind of thing. The Myers-Briggs is not used by any researcher in the world, really. No one uses it. So like I can't even publish with it. Like if I'm trying to learn something about employees, I cannot use the MBTI because it is super unreliable. If somebody takes the MBTI at the beginning of a quarter and they take it at the end, personality is extremely stable. It takes the average person about 6 years to change a major personality trait about themselves. That's why if you ever look at somebody that's like, if somebody ever goes to prison for like abuse, right? Like they abuse somebody, like a wife or spouse or something like that, the rate at which they redo it is really, really high in the first 6 years. And after 6 years, it drastically drops. And it's 6 years you can kind of change, right? So that means the MBTI, if I give you this personality test, you should be the same personality traits consistently for a long time. It's not that way. People like swing on it wildly back and forth because it's not reliable. I've actually had students where I give them the MBTI day one and then I have them take it the last day of class, and it's like half the class will be a different personality trait, which should not happen. Now, the reason companies do it, I'm not saying I'm smarter than these 85% of companies. The reason they do it is because not all the information is bad, and it's easy to understand and take as an employee. Like, you fall into a personality category, it describes you, it feels good, real simple. It does do a pretty good job of catching extroversion and introversion. I'll say that. Surviving? It's your guys' first class today? Yeah. Only class?
Today.
No, I mean only class this semester. No? Lots of classes. How many classes do you guys take on average? 3, 4? 5? It's too many. It's too many.
I'm doing two 8 weeks. And then I'm doing 2 8 weeks together, 2 16 weeks, and then one of my 8 weeks finishes and pick up another one.
I've never taken 5. 3? 4? I've never taken 5 classes a semester. Ever.
You've never taken 15 credit? Or have you taken like higher classes, like classes with higher credit hours?
I guess higher credit hours. Yeah, now that I think about it, I've never taken 5 though. I've been 4 pretty consistently all the way through. But OSU may do it a little bit different. I'm not sure.
OSU scheduled me 19 hours for a semester freshman.
I've never done that. I've taken 15 hours just pretty consistently. But I've learned if you stay consistent, and like I did summer as well. My undergrad took me 4, my MBA took me 2, and my PhD took me 6. And 6 is normal. It is terrible. But I also took like summer classes pretty consistently. Maybe I'm thinking wrong. Maybe I did take 5 classes. My undergrad was so long ago now, it feels like. All right. Took 18 hours my freshman year. Yeah, it's too many, especially if you're working or something, or you have kids. I didn't have kids from my undergrad. It was easier for me. We'll talk about the DISC a little bit, but I'm mostly going to talk about the Big Five. So the DISC assessment is what some other professors use that teach this class, so I included it in here. Okay, good. I'm where I want to be. We would typically take a break at 45 minutes to an hour, but I could just get through the rest of this, and you guys can be done. Is that cool? Cool. Okay. It's like we can take a 10-minute break and then come back and talk for 15, 20 minutes. But the DISC assessment is used by more than 1 million people every year. There's a company you can actually hire to come into your company to give the DISC assessment to your employees. I used to have students fill out the DISC assessment, but then I found that doing the DISC and doing the Big Five was too much. And the Big Five is, bless you, is better for, it's honestly just used more, so that's what I use. So the DISC, kind of like the MBTI, instead breaks you down into 4 categories: D, I, C, and S. And when you take the DISC, you score high or low in each of these things, and you have one dominant personality, and then usually one sub-personality, like one that scores second highest, right? And this is a simple way. Some companies use it. The only problem is it's expensive, like I said, to bring somebody in to do it well with your company. But if you score high in dominance, you're confident, you have emphasis on bottom line results. These are more direct people. Then you have I for influence. This is more, you more care about relationships and the influence you can put out onto people. Then you have steadiness. These are people that are very dependable, patient, soft-hearted, a little bit different than influence. Influence people are very good at getting people to do what they want. Steadiness people are very like calm, like a rock. I am checking the chat, by the way. It's just if it's not super urgent, I'm not reading it out loud. And then C, conscientiousness. More private people, usually more to themselves, but they place emphasis on quality and accuracy. The DISC is great. I have no qualms with the DISC. It's fantastic. A lot of research behind it. It was developed in 1928. 40 years of research behind it. One of those ones that were developed the correct way. It has been repeatedly tested over time and done really, really well. I have the DISC assessment. If anybody wants it, I have a free version you can take that works. It's qualified. You can fill it out. You can score yourself. Yeah. I don't know if you can find it online. I think the one I have is a paid version that I distribute to my students. You can do that for academic reasons. You don't have to know these numbers. This isn't a class about numbers when it comes to this, but if any of you know anything about reliability or validity, I've had a few statistics students that like to see the numbers. That's what they are. But you don't have to know what any of that means. That's just how we measure reliability and validity. Organizations like, sometimes it depends on when I write my slides. I put little jokes in there for myself, like for the same reason they don't like that dirty stinking MBTI test. We're going to talk about the Big Five for the remainder of class, and then I'm going to cover some important points one more time, and then we're done. So the Big Five is the most researched personality traits in the world. All psychologists use them. We use an organizational behavior all the time until some future time where someone disproves it. This is going to be like the gold standard, basically, is these 5 and then also what we call emotional intelligence. So the way the Big Five works, and you all are actually taking the Big Five. This is your first assessment. You take the Big Five. And the cool thing is there's a great website that does it. They administer a good version of it, and it gives the results for you. So it's like the easiest first assessment to do because you don't have to do any legwork. You just fill it out. The Big Five says there are 5 main personality traits, and you can be high or low on basically all of them. Important to note, because of societal standards, sometimes people think being high or low in certain ones is bad or good, or means you're going to be bad or good at certain jobs. That's not entirely true. Being high or low in all of these things is not a bad thing. Being high in extroversion is generally seen as a positive thing in our society, but people that are high in extroversion also tend to work worse in certain types of jobs than people that are basically introverts, right? Additionally, it is true that the way you score on this is a super good predictor of what type of jobs you'll be good at what type of people you work best with, your work styles, things like that. But with all things, it's not consistent in that it's not consistent for everybody. There are people that will break those rules, right? There can be people that are really low in agreeableness and really low in extroversion that are great car salespeople, which is typically not the case, right? People that are extroverted make better car salespeople. So it's not the same for everybody. Additionally, and I have to say this up front about all assessments, no matter how much research we put behind assessments, they're not always 100% accurate in that they could still get it wrong. So like you can take this assessment, don't let it define your life. If you think you're this person that's super emotionally stable and open to all these, things, I love to travel and meet all these new people, and the Big Five says you're not open to experiences. Don't let that rock your worldview. It can be wrong, right? Cool. It can be wrong. So this is the Big Five. The first is extroversion versus introversion. People that are extroverted are talkative, social, tend to be more assertive. There's also studies that say people that are extroverted tend to have less time between thought and voicing an opinion. So they have an idea, they speak up quicker. Introverted people are pretty much the flip of that across the board. There are shades of gray in all of these things. You can be what's called an extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert. I am famously an extroverted introvert. I am extremely introverted. I prefer to be by myself. I like my space. I like to play my video games and chess, and I ran because I could run by myself, and do all. And my wife's the same way, so we work great together. But I also teach for a living, and I give speeches at conferences, and I have to talk to rooms of 100 people, so I can't be like a quiet shell person, right? I have to be able to speak up. So because of that, I'm an extroverted introvert, and you can be the opposite. You can be an introverted extrovert. So that's extroversion, introversion. Extroverted people tend to be better in certain leadership roles, often sales positions, stuff like that. Introverted people tend to be better at things such as accounting and IT, things that require more slow focus. Agreeableness, if you're high in agreeableness, trusting, good-natured, cooperative, soft-hearted, tend to agree with people, don't want to rock the boat, usually good peacekeepers, right? Low in agreeableness, the opposite. Most studies show CEOs are almost always low in agreeableness. They're usually not very agreeable people. They're very, like, my opinion, this is the way, I'm not going to trust you just because you say, okay, rocking the boat, stuff like that. Conscientiousness, this is probably the biggest one out of all these. It determines a lot. It's a good predictor of a lot of things. High and conscientious people tend to be very responsible. They write things out. They don't forget things. Very meticulous. Now that sounds great. And then people are always like, so you want to be high in conscientiousness? Yes, but people that are high in conscientiousness that like things a certain way and are very standardized tend to be less creative and less artistic in general. So more creative positions, if you're a graphic designer, they tend to be lower in conscientiousness. Accountants and finance tend to be higher in conscientiousness. And now that we're halfway through, I can say again, this does not hold true for everybody all the time, so it's okay. You can be a really good graphic designer and be super high in conscientiousness. Emotional stability. People that are high in emotional stability tend to be more even-keeled on the emotional charts, meaning they have less noticeable lows and less noticeable highs. They tend to stay more level. They get angry less often. They also don't get overexcited as often. Lower emotional stability, which I think emotional stability has got a bad rap now because we would always see low emotional stability to be bad, but it's not always. Low emotional stability tend to be able to experience more highs and lows and be more reactive. People that are lower emotional stability often tend to be better motivators. And like if you're on a football team, I love my NFL, the person out there yelling and screaming and headbutting people and jumping up and down is usually lower in emotional stability on the Big Five. They can have more dramatic, exciting swings. Do you know who Jalen Hurts is? For any of my football fans, he's probably really high in emotional stability. That dude didn't smile until they won the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts played at Oklahoma down the road and Alabama. If you want to talk football, I got it on lock. Openness to experiences. People that are okay with things not being the same. Like to try new things. They can be imaginative, curious. People that are low in openness to experience, the opposite, right? Like their standard, like their schedules, conscientiousness and openness to experience often inverse correlate with each other. So as conscientiousness goes up, people tend to be lower in openness to experience, not and vice versa, but not always. So you all will get a chance to take the Big Five. I hope there's nobody trying to get in and I just missed it. Okay, good. That would be so embarrassing. I took the Big Five. These are my general results. I actually wanted to show you this mostly because they use the word neuroticism, and I wanted you to know what that means. That is their version of emotional stability. So neuroticism is your propensity to experience negative emotions. So if you're high in neuroticism, that means that you tend to experience more negatives, right? The way they're measuring emotional, because it's not always standard for everybody, the way they're doing emotional stability is if you are high in this, you tend to experience more negative emotions more often, right? And low, not. Now, so for me, I was pretty like standard across the way. I'm actually high in openness to experiences on here, which is wild. I don't know why. Neuroticism, I'm generally pretty happy. And my conscientiousness is I like my things standardized. But if you break down my neuroticism, you get in there, it's because I'm low in anger, I'm low in depression and stuff like that. But then over here, we get to anxiety, and it's real, man. Sometimes it's real. You all can tell. I'm basically vibrating up here. So when you all take this, it's going to give you results like this. And then you can click each of them, and it'll break it down for you. It'll also give you a little like explanation of what your results mean for each thing. It's pretty cool. But two things to say about this assignment. We're not using the hard disk assignment assessment, but if anybody wants it, I have a hard copy and I'll send it to you. Just gotta email me. But you will click this. I hope this works on this computer. About to find out, aren't we? I'm gonna do this live so nobody messes this up when we get on there. Is it opening? I'm gonna go over here. Why? Edge? Who uses Microsoft Edge? Okay, here we go. There. So it's gonna take you to this page. This is just thebig5.com basically, but make sure you click the link. You'll take the test. You fill it all the way out, okay? You just fill this out, click next. At the end, and I'm not gonna click through them super quick, it's going to give you a code, and it's gonna give you all your results. All you have to do for your homework, the only thing, is take that code. It's like 16 digits of chaos. Take that code, copy it, and paste it. Because what I can do is I can get on here, I think it's in the results section. I can take your code, paste it in there, and it gives me your results. So I can see your results. And then if you ever want to see your results again in the future, that code works pretty much indefinitely. So go through here. I believe this thing's like, I think it's 50 questions. It could be more. But you take it, fill all the way out. It's going to give you all your results. It's going to give you a cool little code. All you got to do for your homework is post that code. So that's the first thing. You do not have to pay for this test. I've had students in the past, I use an ad blocker, so I don't see all this nonsense. But I've had students in the past click off and click little ads on the side and then be like, it's asking me to enter my email and all this stuff. You don't, okay? Full stop. Everybody listening. Fill it out. It'll give you your answers. You don't have to do any of that nonsense. There is one question on here that I have had one student be concerned about, and I'm going to see if I can get it to pop up here and make sure they didn't change it. When I used to use this test for students, this question wasn't on there. And then they added it a year ago, and I was like, great, now I have to explain why it's on there to my students. I think it's soon. I apologize, and this is a riveting lecture right now. Oh my gosh, what if they took it off? Usually it showed up by now. Oh, I hope they did. Nope, there it is. First question. I tend to vote for liberal political candidates. You all know the type of world we live in right now and why this is so pretentious to ask this question. The student that asked me asked if I could see your results. I don't care about your results, when it comes to like what you put for these questions. I care about the final result. Let's say that. I like to see your Big Five personality results because I think it's cool. and I want you to learn about yourself, and then I can come up here and talk about what your results mean. That's fun. I cannot see your specific answers to any of these questions, okay? And then, if you're wondering why it asks this question, it is because if it is asking you 100 questions to get your, level on all 5 of these traits, basically each of these questions are operating like a little puzzle piece. There is a study, sometimes I pull it up, but you guys can take my word for it, and if you want, I can pull the study up and you can see it. There's a study where they looked at Big 5 personality traits and the likelihood to vote for different candidates. And what they found was that the higher you are in conscientiousness, the more likely you are to vote Republican, and the higher you are in openness to experiences, the more likely you are to vote for liberal candidates or Democrat candidates. So they asked this question because if it says, I tend to vote for more liberal political candidates, and you say very inaccurate, that means it can take a guess as one puzzle piece that you are probably more likely conscientious and less likely openness to experiences. And then it's going to ask you 99 other questions to piece together your results, right? Does that make sense? That's why it's asking it. They used to not ask it, I think because it was contentious. And they would say more simple things like, I like to hang out with groups of 5 or more, which is a way more fun question. But that's why it's there. I can't see your results to whatever you answer to that, nor would I look and care about that stuff. But that's why it's there. I just have to address it because, like I said, I had a student say that one time and be like, you shouldn't ask me that. I was like, ooh, I'm sorry. But this is why. So, cool, great. Oh, we are crushing it. So yeah, all you have to do for this week, assignments, Big 5, and it says all that stuff there, but you basically just paste it right in here. Now, 2 more things and done that are very minor. Syllabus acknowledgement. It says do the 31st, but if you are here talking to me and you're online especially, you should just do this right now. The way it works here at NSU, and some of the other professors may have already brought this up to you. Pull this up here. There we go. You've already done the assessment? Cool. Is we have to report attendance next week. It's for like scholarship stuff. I have to do attendance for everybody. The only way I can know that you are attending the class is the completion of some sort of assignment. So at the business college, we include a syllabus acknowledgement. That shows me that you've read and agreed to the syllabus, but also that you're actually taking my class. Make sure you do this, especially if you're on scholarship, because next week I'm going to have to report attendance. And if you haven't done the syllabus acknowledgement, I have to report you as not attending. And then what's going to happen is they're going to contact you and be like, why aren't you coming to your classes? And it can cost you scholarships and stuff. All you have to do for the syllabus acknowledgement, and it's worth 20 points, so this is the easiest 20 points of your life, is you basically just click this, and then it's going to say for you to type in, am I a student view? Yeah, I am. You basically are just going to type in, I have read and acknowledged the syllabus for this course. Enter. Then what I do is when I have to enter attendance, I go and I look and everybody's acknowledged it. I know we're activated in the course. You get 20 points. I tell the college they're coming to class. Yeah. Or doing the class. Make sense? So do this Sunday. We're going to wrap up here. Do this Sunday, or not this Sunday, do the following Sunday, the 31st, the Big 5 and the syllabus acknowledgement. For these first 2 assignments, I give you 2 weeks because we're just starting out. After that, I will give assignments out on Monday. They will be due 1 week later. I've never had a student complain that it takes too long to do all the stuff. You could knock it out in a couple hours, everything we do, so it's good to go. Especially if you come to class, then we can do it live right here. So we're doing that. Boom. After this class is over, I'm going to make sure I do it or say everything again I'm supposed to say. After this class is over, I will upload this lecture and every week to the video section of this week's module. I will also upload it on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel that I clear out every semester. I just delete all the videos and then I repost as the semester goes on. So if you prefer to watch stuff on YouTube, it works on your phone and stuff, you can do that. My YouTube channel is in the announcements. It's just like the Professor Smart, I think. Yeah, there's nothing fun on there, but just lectures. So there's that. Make sure you do the syllabus acknowledgement. Make sure you do the Big 5. Boom. And then the last 2 things, the Discord. Next week, I will send out the survey for Discord if you want to do the bonus. If not, it'll be in the announcements tab, just the survey, or not the survey, just the link to the server. So if anybody wants to join the Discord server, whether you want to do the, bonus assignment or not, you should join it. It's great. It's up to you if you want to or not, but it's an easy way to contact me. And then the last thing is hopefully I've reminded you 7 times. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me, you can Discord message me, you can message me on here, whatever. My other rule is if I don't answer in 24 hours, you can ping me a second time and just say, hey, did you get my message? Because sometimes I get a lot of messages and I miss one. So that's it. So any questions, message me. You're all great. Any questions from people online? I'll give you a second to type. Any questions for everybody in here? We're doing an hour and a half. Nice and quick today. All right, I'm going to stop the recorder. I will post this lecture in the next hour if there's anything you guys need to review. But I will hang out here